So good morning everybody, and thank you for giving me an opportunity to come and share some ideas about how in R.E.A.L we are revolutionizing school education. At the beginning of this year, all of our leadership team met and we spent time asking ourselves the question, how can we better prepare students for the real world? So our new tagline for R.E.A.L schools is R.E.A.L schools, real education for the real world. And this morning I'm going to be sharing some of the new initiatives we've put in place so that school can be more relevant to the needs of the current world. Now we know we live in a world characterized by the fourth industrial revolution. It's a VUCA world, volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous. And so we set about asking ourselves, what new elements should we be including in our school curriculum, both at the primary and secondary level, so that students, when they graduate, they've got a better sense and connection and understanding of the real VUCA world that is characterized by 4IR. And the model we have developed is called the 10 real world models. And what the 10 symbolize or represent are 10 different aspects of the world that we will expose children to in R.E.A.L schools. So let me take you through each of the 10 aspects. So number one, the digital world. We know that the fourth industrial revolution and technology is driving a lot of the key changes in the world today, whether it's in business, different professions, our lifestyles as well. And so we believe that students need to be well versed with technology, regardless of whatever profession they're in. So whether they're going to be future doctors or lawyers or architects or businessmen, entrepreneurs, teachers, I think there's no profession that is untouched by technology. And so not just IT or computer science students, but all students need to appreciate the potential, the power of this technological revolution. So to do that, we have put in place a very unique project-based learning platform. So every year, our students from primary to secondary school will be embarking on at least 2 technology projects a year. And these, we feel very fun and exciting projects will introduce students to different skills and elements of the tech revolution, including things like coding and programming, technopreneurship, so they'll be doing pitches, developing their own tech products, cyber security, data analytics, artificial intelligence and machine learning, disruptive innovations and technologies, as well as digital and social media marketing. So each of the projects will expose them to different elements of this, so by the time they are in year 11 and about to graduate, they really know the vocabulary of the fourth industrial revolution. Secondly, we introduce them to the business world. They talk about the fact that Gen Z, many of our school students are in Gen Z, are going to be twice as likely to start businesses compared to previous generations. And I think, again, largely fueled by the fourth industrial revolution, which creates opportunities and new platforms. It drops barriers to entry for many businesses and industry. So we feel that our students should be exposed to an entrepreneurial mindset, and look, many people misunderstand entrepreneurship. I mean, it's not all just about money or managing money. It's really about understanding people and being able to identify needs, gaps in the current world. So, things like consumer psychology will be, enrichment workshops that we will add for secondary school students, things like contextual intelligence, product service development, knowing how to register a business, so something as practical as registering your business, basic financial management, accounting, marketing, and like I say, the most important thing is learning to see the world with the mind of an entrepreneur. Right? It was Li Ka-shing who talked about the importance of synthesis. He says if you want to do business, you need to connect the dots. So in a world full of information and opportunities, how do we teach students to have this entrepreneurial mindset? Number 3, the global world. I mean, the world we say has become smaller. We want our children to be global citizens, to be able to survive, thrive, be comfortable in any kind of cultural environment. So at R.E.A.L schools, we've put into place a global mindedness program, and this includes, various projects and activities every year that expose children to the bigger world, to remind them that, look, the world is very, very large, full of options and possibilities. So for example, in primary school, we're going to get students to have international pen pals. It's a very old-fashioned concept, but we put a digital twist to this. So they will have email pen pals where they can correspond for a few months with people and students, friends of different nationalities in different countries. We're going to expose children from year 1 all the way to secondary school to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, so the SDGs. And 17 SDGs, students will be doing projects and proposals so that in terms of their own community service, they see that they are global citizens and they can make a global impact. Number 4, we talk about the moral world. It's important for us that our students have integrity and compassion. R.E.A.L schools, when we started 25 years ago, was one of the first schools to actually emphasize the importance of character education. And so we don't want to lose that character, that part of our R.E.A.L school's identity. So we talk about things like moral courage. Teaching our children how to distinguish between right and wrong, how to stand firm in terms of their own values, not to forget who they are. So we tell them, look, the VUCA world may mean that the whole world is changing. Technology is changing, the way we do business, the way we work. But the one thing that must not change is their moral values. So they need to remember right from wrong, and they need to have the courage to stand up for what they believe is right. And so part of that is, ensuring that our children don't grow up to be spoiled. We know some of the middle income children, sometimes the trap is that they grow up being very entitled, only thinking of themselves. So we do want that. In R.E.A.L schools, part of our moral education is teaching them to think of other people. So all of our students at R.E.A.L will be involved in community projects from year 1 onwards. And as they progress, as they become older, the reach and the sophistication of these projects will also expand, so that by the time they are in secondary school, we want them to be involved in long-term community education projects that involve them understanding the needs of the community, involve them thinking about things like sustainability, but also to have a holistic understanding of the needs of a particular community that is marginalized. Right? So number 5, we introduce students to the scientific world. STEM is still very much part of our core curriculum, and I think, to me, when I think of science, it's all about intellectual curiosity. It's about, encouraging students from a young age to ask the right questions, to be inquisitive, to use research and the scientific method of inquiry to answer their questions. And so I think the way we will teach science in R.E.A.L schools, we are hoping will be very different. It's not about memorizing a lot of facts and figures. It's about teaching them how to be curious and how to feed into their curiosity by doing scientific research. So from secondary school level, we're going to be encouraging our students to have independent research projects beyond the curriculum, so that they're able to actually work on their own science projects throughout the year, and then we celebrate it at the end of the year with a STEM fair where they can come and share with their friends, the things that they have discovered about the world. So we believe that science needs to be outdoors as well. It can't just be in the classroom. It needs to be outside, because science is about the natural world. So we want our children to be out there with their iPads, recording information, taking photographs, videos, sharing this with one another, so that they discover whether it's biology or physics or chemistry, things in its natural setting. Right? Number 6, we introduce children to the linguistic world. So the love of languages, reading and writing, is again an important part of our school curriculum. We start with the libraries. This year we're really going to revolutionize the way our libraries are spread out in our 3 campuses. The belief now is that libraries are no longer areas for research, because people do research over the internet, but really libraries are places where people fall in love with literature and reading. And that's really the best way to learn languages, So in our schools, we emphasize the 3 core languages, Bahasa Malaysia, English and Mandarin. Now, of course, for students doing our international stream, English is going to be the core curriculum. But this year, we are also introducing a new innovation, which is that for students coming from Chinese-speaking schools, all right, we are going to maintain the same level of the Chinese school curriculum from year 1 to year 11. So for families that are bringing in their children from Chinese schools, they don't need to worry about them losing their level of Mandarin because they'll be, all the way at the elite Mandarin level. Linguistic skills also involve communication skills. So all of our children will be encouraged to take part in things like public speaking, persuasive writing, and that's really important if they want to succeed in the new world. Yeah? Number 7, we introduce children to the sporting and the outdoor world. Again, I think this is a balance, and it's about managing the paradox. On one hand, we talk about being a high-tech school. On the other hand, it's also important that children are not always indoors, and I think that's something that a lot of parents, I'm a parent myself, we notice about our children that sometimes they're glued too much to their iPads or computer screens inside in an aircon room, and there's a need to encourage them to go outdoors and discover the world. But this is also important for physical fitness. To succeed in the future, they need to be physically fit, so the love of sports, that's important. So in all of our 3 schools, we are making the following commitment in terms of a learning objective. That number 1, by the time they graduate, all of our students will be able to run at least 5 kilometers. So in terms of physical fitness, they are at that level. All of them will be able to swim at least 100 meters, so that's 4 laps of a half Olympic size swimming pool. And all of them will be exposed to a minimum of 10 different sports. And so this may be things like badminton and football, but beyond that, also non-traditional sports. So we want to give them a variety of sports. This is very much like what you see in the German model of schooling, where they expose them to many sports when they are young. And then they master at least 2 sports, which become their favorites. And this is important. So sports becomes a habit for them lifelong. Another innovation we are introducing is ensuring that children are exposed to the outdoor world, a love of nature. We live in Malaysia, which is, one of the most beautiful countries in the world in terms of its natural resources. Our forests, our seas, our oceans, our mountain tops. One of the most beautiful anywhere in the world. And I think in this day and age where a lot of children, unfortunately, are becoming very much indoors, they're spending time on their iPads, their phones, and they're not able to, go outdoors. I think at R.E.A.L schools, we are really going to encourage children to go out and discover and appreciate all of the natural beauty of the natural world. And so all of our students will be involved in camping as part of our Duke of Edinburgh Award. All of them will have to do, camp expeditions. All of our students will learn outdoor survival skills, but also to safeguard themselves. We are introducing certification for first aid and CPR training for all of our secondary school students, as well as self-defense skills as well, to ensure that they can look after themselves. So number 8, we are going to introduce children to the design and innovation world. In this new industrial revolution, things like design thinking, creativity and innovation have become really, really important, as important as all of the core subjects we used to do when we were growing up. I think in an age where artificial intelligence is able to replace and simulate human thought in many, many areas. The one area where human beings still have an edge, I think, is in creative and innovative thinking. So for all of our international school students, design and technology is going to be a core subject from year 7 to year 9. And that includes things like working with 3D printers, graphic design, working with resistant materials, culinary labs. So all of our schools will have cooking labs, master chef style. Children will have to come up with their own recipes, do challenges, and textiles as well. So they will all do sewing, and both males and females will do this together. And when we took our leadership team to visit some of the top Singapore schools like Tanglin Trust School, as well as Stanford American International School, we found that students really enjoy this part of creating and innovating. And one of the other things we're going to be doing is creating something called a maker space in all of our 3 schools. And this is sort of a design, an idea that came from MIT. university in the States. It's a place where students can come whenever they're free, before school, after school, recess time, and they can come and work on their own individual projects. And so there'll be equipment there, there's some Lego robotics there, there'll be 3D printers there, graphic design, art and craft. And throughout the year, they can come and work on their own design projects. And this really encourages initiative in terms of the students, but also, design thinking. Number 9, we introduce students to the performing arts world. In fact, the best way to actually learn language is through drama. So in all of our R.E.A.L schools, we're going to make drama and music a core curriculum from year 1 all the way up to year 9 and 10. So it's not something that is just a co-curricular activity, but it's part of the timetable itself. So all of your children will have an opportunity to, learn different musical instruments, learn to sing, but drama as well. So they'll all learn to act, learn to direct, do costume design, work, in front of the camera, behind the camera. And from my experience, I think particularly Asian students, we benefit from drama because, this is where you learn confidence. Learn how to speak in public, learn how to express yourself in a confident manner. We found that students learn the different languages the best through drama. So one of the innovative features of our curriculum is that we are incorporating drama into our 3 languages. So when they learn English, Mandarin and Bahasa, there will be some elements of acting there as well. So number 10, we're going to introduce students to the psychological world. In a world that is full of pressure and stress, it's important that students learn to develop a strong sense of emotional and mental resilience. So all of our students will go through EQ workshops. From primary school to secondary school, they'll be learning about things like understanding their emotions, how to avoid throwing tantrums when they are young, and then when they are a bit older, how to manage exam stress. All of our students will take part in mental health workshops and seminars so that they understand what is mental health, how to look after their own mental health, recognizing some of the common challenges that teenagers face, things like depression, anxiety disorders, panic attacks, eating disorders. I think prevention is the best form of cure. So I think getting our students to be well aware of mental health means that they are less likely to develop mental health issues and problems. Also, it's about having strong mental health ecosystems in our schools. So all of our schools will have full-time counselors. We will train all of our teachers to have mental health awareness, to be sensitive to our students, but also we will have a peer support group team so that they are able to help their friends and their classmates if they are facing any mental health issues. So in conclusion, at R.E.A.L schools, we believe that real education is about preparing students for the real world. And we are doing this by really changing and revolutionizing the way we look at schools. No longer a place where we're just spoon-feeding a lot of knowledge, a lot of rote memorizing of information and facts, but school moving to a new platform, a place of discovery, where children can discover the real world in all its beauty and all its different forms. So we help at R.E.A.L children discover the 10 different worlds: the digital world, the business world, the global world, the moral world, the scientific world, the linguistic world, the sporting world, the design and innovation world, the performing arts world, and the psychological world. And we think that when we enlarge the horizons of our children in this way, they are going to be in the best position to survive and thrive in this real world. Thank you very much.